Hey beautiful, welcome back. I'm your host, Kayla Hodges, and in this episode, I'm gonna show you how to hunt leads and eat. And learning how to do this for yourself is super important. And I know we talk about being not in your masculine all the time. However, if you are not getting leads provided for you or if something happens to them, you gotta know how to produce them for yourself. And this is for any industry, regardless if you're in sales, if you're a business owner, this is how you can always make money for yourself and always make sure that you're safe financially. So I'm going to show you how to do this. Make sure you have a pen, a notebook. You take so many notes, and I hope that it helps you. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast, Closing Deals in Heels. This is your weekly big sister advice on mastering influence, embracing your femininity, and handling any challenge that life throws your way. In sales, it's really important that you understand how to hunt. And I know that every single podcast training, everything that I've done so far is always talking about women are meant to hunt. We're meant to attract things into our life, and men are meant to hunt. And we are supposed to be more nurturing, empathic, and yes, 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 all the things. However, if you're hungry and you don't know how to hunt your food, how are you going to eat? Okay. So think about like the movie that just came out, like Mufasa, which was also a really great movie. I just have to say, if you have not seen that movie, I took my 12-year-old daughter, and there's not been so much drama inside of a Disney movie to where my daughter and I are looking at each other the whole time going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So you definitely have to watch it. But in the movie, Scar's parents were his dad was really lazy, and the mom, she hunted, and she would like listen to the ground, and she would utilize like feminine things like being aware and like listen to find this prey. Anyways, you got to learn how to do the same thing. So it is not just your company's responsibility to provide leads for you. And if you can learn this skill, you can always bring in leads and always bring in cash. And this is regardless of what type of sales that you're in. Okay. If you are in B2B sales, if you can bring in additional accounts and get paid on them, why would you not do that? Especially because you can negotiate with your boss that if you bring in additional accounts or additional sales and you do the marketing efforts on that, you can get higher amounts of commissions. There's definitely ways to negotiate with this and be a win-win for everybody. Now, if you're in B2C sales and like, let's say, for example, you're in high ticket sales and you are used to people putting appointments on your calendar, well, what happens if an ad goes down? What happens if it's a bad week? What happens if all of a sudden, like you have appointments that don't show up because there's something going on with the marketing? If you have another way to bring in cash, regardless of what happens, you're always going to be taken care of. And I think that you providing safety for yourself, financial stability is extremely important. And this is, again, like insurance. You can do the same thing, bring in additional leads, right? Think about like software sales. You can go to a networking event and find a lead. There's so many different ways to do this, but you have to learn. Okay. So there's multiple ways, and we're going to go in through a few of them today. So I want you to make sure that you grab a notebook, a pen, piece of paper, and you sit down and you write as many notes as possible because I'm about to give it to you. However, you have to take these notes and apply them. So we're going to give you actionable steps to do in order for you to bring in an additional lead today. And by the end of this episode, you'll know what to do to bring in cash. Okay. All right. So let's get into this. Well, we have two different sides. We have one, which is a beautiful like social media side, right? When you think social media, think Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook. Like there's so many different avenues and so many different platforms that give you accessibility to so many people. And then in addition to that, you also have in person and cold calling, things that will require energy on your part where you can go find people. So like you can go to an event and network with people. You can network with people when you're out, when you go out to dinner, when you go to the mall, when you're out and about, there is people around you. And unfortunately, it's 2025 and talking to random strangers about stuff that would help you in business and sales and your career is not as normalized as it was, even 20 years ago. I remember as a little girl, my mom would take me with her to do like Mary Kay sales, and we would talk to everybody. There was not a stranger in my mom's world. And we would speak to people and we would randomly talk to people and we would try to get people to like join her team. At one point, she like earned her Cadillac, didn't end up getting it. It was like a whole shebang. But normalizing talking to people out in public was very normal, was very day-to-day life. And we don't do that as much anymore. Why? Because social media has blown up. But the reality is that if it worked back then and it works now, there's people all around you that possibly need what you are selling. Hmm. But how would you know whether or not they would want to buy from you? And that's going to come into the quality of your questions. And then we're going to go back into social media in just a bit. So let's say I was out somewhere. The biggest mistake that I see people making is that you start word vomiting your product, your solution down people's throats. Please freaking stop doing this. Have you had the experience, like, let's think about like network marketing, for example. Have you ever had the experience where you're talking to somebody and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I have this great opportunity for you. And they just won't shut up about whatever it is that they're selling or what new thing they found. And you're like overwhelmed. I remember as a little girl, they called it throwing up pink because it was Mary Kay. So when you meet somebody and you're just throwing up pink on them, you just like won't shut up about the company. And it becomes overwhelming. Why? Because there's so much sales resistance and because you're making the whole entire conversation about you versus about your product or about your prospect. Sales is not about you at all. And the only way you should be offering a solution to somebody is if you find a problem that this person didn't realize how bad it was or they didn't realize that they had it. And when you're talking about this problem and you're realizing how it's affecting them and your prospect is realizing it's affecting them through your question ability, that's when it would be appropriate to suggest something, right? Because that's how a friend would do it. Let's say you're talking to one of your friends and they're telling you, oh my gosh, like I went to this car wash. I really hate this car wash. Every single time I go through, I feel like there's something messed up. Like there's still little drops all over my car. And you're like, oh my gosh, like how long have you been going to that car wash for? And they're telling you like, well, it's right by my house. So it's easy, it's convenient. But like I just got a new car wrap on my car. And so I just don't think I can go through it anymore. And it's just really frustrating. And you're like, hey, like, I don't know if this would help you. I actually have somebody that comes to my house and they do everything mobile, so you don't even have to leave, and they can do it all there for you. And they do wraps and like higher quality stuff. Like, would that help you if I like gave you that person's phone number? And you're like, oh my God, yes, because it solves a problem. And I'm giving you a very simple example, like a car wash, because that's all sales is. Sales is so easy. It's so simple. It's about you understanding your prospect's needs but not telling them that they have a problem. It's you having the self-control to ask somebody questions for them to realize that they have a problem and them to realize that this problem is affecting them in a negative way. And then at that point, you offered help because sales is like service. It's you helping, it's you being of service to somebody. So if you go to a networking event or you're walking around and you're talking to a stranger, how would you know if they had a problem that you can help solve? You would have to ask them questions. That's the only way that you would be able to find out if they had a problem. And we train all of our clients our methodology RED. RED stands for real, empowering, disarming questions that are questions that are based in science that help your prospect release certain chemicals in the brain so that they feel internal urgency and they want to buy from you. Not pressure, not manipulation, not anything that would make you feel weird or icky, but doing something in a really feminine way that's backed in science. So when you're asking some of these questions, what would I have to ask them in order for them to realize that they have a problem? I would probably have to ask them about their situation. Now, if I walked up to a random person and I just started asking about their situation, it would be really awkward, right? Because you're a stranger, okay? You're a stranger. So before I ask them about their current situation, I would have to ask them some rapport questions so that they would open up to me. And rapport questions would be different depending on if they're a stranger at the mall or it would be different if you're at a networking event. Because at a networking event, it'd be normalized to walk up to somebody and start asking them about, who they are and what they do. If you're out randomly with somebody, you're going to have to find some way to talk to them quickly. With women, we can do this really easily. I think if I was like next to a woman in the bathroom, I could easily compliment her or easily start talking to her about where she got something, you know? I like asking where somebody got something more than a compliment because compliments could feel disingenuous, especially if your tone is off, right? If I could ask somebody, oh my gosh, like, where'd you get your shoes? Or hey, you smell really good. Where's your perfume from? And I started talking and asking like small chit chat and having a conversation with her, she's going to open up. Now, I don't want to stay in the small chit chat. I just want to ask like one question and then ask her her name, be like, "Oh my gosh, forgive me, I forgot to ask, what do you do?" Right? And I started talking to her, started having a conversation with her. And then I take her through her current situation to see if I can even help. Now, if you would be talking to random people on and about like this would be more for anything that's like a biz opportunity. Insurance sales would be really good at this, network marketing sales, anything like that, where anybody around you could possibly be a prospect. Now, if you're in very, very distinctive sales, like let's say you're in marketing, your prospect would probably be like a business owner. So one of your first questions whenever you meet people is like you're talking to them. I would look at a certain high caliber type of person and ask like what they do. And if they say that they own a business, I would continue the conversation. But again, don't waste your breath on somebody that you don't think would be your prospect. And if this makes sense. But I want you to try. So what it would look like for you to at least go out and try to have a random conversation with 5 people over the weekend. Just find out if they would be your prospect and asking questions and talking to them. Now, if I'm at a networking event, I would ask somebody, a little bit about them. And if they asked me what I did, I would try to say it in a way to where they would be interested in me. So typically, the way that I can relate to somebody is talking about their pain point. If you can talk about somebody's pain points and you understand your prospect's pain points better than anybody else, and I just describe the pain points of my prospect, and my prospect is listening, they're going to feel like I can help them better than anybody else. Yes. So if somebody's asking me what I do, I would be talking about how I help my prospect with their pain points. So for example, like let's say I have a fitness training company and somebody asks me what I do. And I work with women that are trying to lose weight after having a baby. Okay. I would say, well, you know how like sometimes like women, like right after they have a baby, sometimes feel like frustrated because they're having like all these hormones and they have a baby and there's just all this stuff that's going on. They feel like they can't lose the baby weight. Well, what I do is I help those women come up with something custom and specific for them so that they can lose the baby weight and keep it off. What do you do? Now, when I say things like that, it makes them feel like, oh my gosh, this person would really understand how to help me because I'm describing their pain for them. So let's do it one more example and then we'll go into the social media. So let's say that like I help a company with a software that helps their accounting firms. Like the accounting department, I put the software in place to where it can help organize everything and they also like save money on taxes every year. And I'm at a big like corporate like networking event and somebody asked me what I do. I'm like, well, you know how like some companies sometimes feel like a little frustrated with like trying to make sure that they're not overpaying on billable hours for their accounting department. Well, what we do is we put a software in place to organize everything and to make sure that you're not overpaying on taxes every single year. Does that sound like something you guys experience? And I'm just talking about a pain point and I'm talking about it in a way where they're like, oh my gosh, this person really understands what's going on. They could absolutely help me. And you are perceived as an expert. Now, when you do that, this is called a tailored introduction. So you want to make sure that you're talking and tailoring what you do to your prospect and you're talking about their pain like you understand it better than anybody else.
Hey, beautiful. Just want to take one little second of your time to interrupt this podcast. First of all, I just want to honor you for showing up for yourself. Like, thank you so much for watching and for listening. Like, you have no idea how much it means to me. If you can just take just 1 second of your time, a little favor, and please hit the subscribe button. Please leave a review, comment on this, and share it to another woman that you know. We as women get to really stand and honor each other, and we do that by lighting fires at others' hearts. Sometimes a woman just needs to know that you believe in her and that she's capable, so please send this to her. I appreciate you. Thank you for taking that out of your time and doing that for us. You have no idea how much it helps and how much it helps us bring a really amazing guest on this show and get it out to more and more people. So thank you again. I will see you back in the show.
Okay, now let's go into the social media side because I get so many messages about how do I hunt on social media? And just so everyone knows and has context about this, I've been able to do this on both sides. My first job was in B2B sales, and they give you a big book of people that could possibly be a client, but they have no connection to. And so you have to go out and you have to sit on job sites and wait for builders to show up, which what I did was help with smart home automation. So we basically have to convince a builder to give us the blueprints for this huge estate that was like 10,000 square feet and up and give it to us. We would have to wire the home for smart home automation. And then hopefully they liked us enough to where we can give that home to a client side of our company, and the client side would talk to the client and sell them a system that was 30 grand to like $3 million, right? So we would have to go hunt these leads by sitting on the job site, by cold calling, by showing up at the office. I would chase down leads sometimes 7 months to land huge accounts. So whenever you're doing this, there is a patience that comes with it. Now, I have a whole lot more skills than I had at 25. So I'm going to show you how to do this in a way faster way to where you don't have to take 7 months to do it, and learn from my mistakes, right? The smartest people learn from other people's mistakes, right? You can do learning by your own mistakes. So that typically takes years for you to figure it out. Or you can learn by somebody else that's been doing it before you, which is probably why you're on this podcast right now. It's probably because you want to learn, you want to become more. There's 4 different types of saleswomen. Women that are guessers that just kind of fly by the wing of their pants and hope and pray that it'll work out. Women that are wannabes, which is what I'm talking about right now. The women that are like trying to figure it out on their own. They like listen to a free podcast. They listen to a basic reel on Instagram. They're like, oh, that's going to help me. And then they try to figure it out all by themselves. Then you have the know-it-alls who hit like a 6 figures or high 6 figures. They stop learning. They cap themselves. And then you have women that are committed to transformation. Women that are wanting to learn, becoming the absolute best in themselves. They're not afraid to invest in themselves. They're not afraid to go all in and try their hardest. And so you always have to ask yourself, like, where are you? Because you don't want to wait years to figure this out like I did. Please don't do that. You want to be in a place where you are really committed to figuring the sales game out and committed to doing all that you possibly can do and become all that you possibly can be so that you can make all the money that you want for your family or for whatever vacation or whatever you're trying to do. Life is so short, and you trying to hope and pray it's going to work out or half-ass learning does not help. If you want to become excellent in sales, you got to train every single day. So let's go into the social media side. In order for you to be great at hunting on social media, it comes with a few basic steps, right? 4 steps here. The first step is that you have to look really good on social media. And I know as I say this, this might sound a little daunting and a little scary, but it's not, and I'm going to explain. What I mean by really good on social media is that you have to look authentic and like you're in your integrity with who you are and what you sell. So if I'm trying to hunt leads on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and somebody comes back to my profile, I need to look legit. And you can do this for your company that you're selling for. I remember when I was in my first B2C job and I was selling social media services, I constantly did videos talking about social media on my Instagram, talking about social media. And if anybody were to come to my page, they would know that I sell this and I'm a legitimate person, right? I'm not pretending. And sometimes there is things on your social media that would probably bite you in the ass. When I first started to go into the sales world and I really wanted to, brand myself as a woman that helps women in sales, I worked with a friend that has a huge PR company, and they looked at my Instagram and they were like, "You look like a party girl in Miami." Because you know what? I was, okay? There was pictures of me in a bikini on a yacht, having a great time, doing all this stuff, and I looked like a huge liability. I had over 1,000 posts. We archived every single post, and I had to start all the way over from the beginning. And I had one video that talked about who I was and what I wanted to do. And that was it, and started all the way over. So if you look at your Instagram right now, or your Facebook, or your LinkedIn, which I don't know why you would have this on LinkedIn, but if you look on it right now and you have pictures that are huge liabilities for you, videos that could possibly compromise you, girl, do yourself a favor and archive that shit, okay? You don't need anyone else's approval or validation or anything else. Now, if you are a fitness model and you're selling how to get a bigger booty in the gym, then yeah, I need to see your ass. I need to know that, like, hey, you know what you're doing. But if you're not doing that, put your ass away, okay? Put your ass away. You don't need to have somebody telling you that you look good or guys hearting your messages unless there's some way that you're making money from that. And then that's your prerogative and you do you. Other than that, if it's just for attention, like, and you're trying to sell something and you work for a big company, like, fix it. Fix it, fix it, fix it. And I totally understand what it's like to like want to feel sexy and want to have people pay attention to me. I get it. I went through that whole phase of my life, especially being out of a really, really abusive relationship and being told every day that I was gross and disgusting and ugly, and then having people pay attention to me. It felt really damn good. I felt really proud of being who I was. Um, in business, though, if it's a liability and you know whether it's not or not inside of you, just remove it. Okay. Doesn't need to be there. And one last point on this, I do think that women get to be sexy and own their body and who they are, and not have this stigma of we have to be so classy and we have to, look a certain way all the time. Like, I will have a picture of me in a bikini up online because I'm proud of my body. That doesn't mean that I'm bending over in the camera, okay? Completely different. Try to find your comfortability level. I don't think you should shut it all off. I think you should own your body and who you are, but just make sure your poses are at least classy. Yeah? Okay. Done with that talk. When people come to your profile, you need to look legit. That's all I'm trying to say right now. Look like a legitimate person, speak intelligently. There's 4 parts of social media. Number 1 is that you want to be educating. This can be articles that you're posting on LinkedIn. This can be you talking about something. This can be you doing some carousel reel, talking about educating whatever it is that you are selling. But I think it's important that you have it out there. Number 2 is your personal life. People want to know who you are. People want to know who you are. It's really important that you look authentic and real and show the parts of your life that you want to show. I want to know that you're a mom. I want to know that you're a person. I want to know what you like to eat because authenticity sells and people want to be and do business with people that are real people, genuine, authentic people. So just show your life and brand yourself the way that you want to be branded. What I mean by that is, like, look at like Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods got in so much trouble when he cheated on his wife. Okay, freaking asshole. Right? He got in so much trouble. Why? Because he branded himself as a family man. If he branded himself like a playboy, like if he was Hugh Hefner and was like, oh, cheating on his wife, like everyone would be like, oh, it's Hugh Hefner. But the way that you brand yourself matters. Okay. So make sure that you're doing something with the intention of who you really want to be. Yes. Um, Education, personal life, your lifestyle, show your lifestyle. And then also social proof. People want to see that you can do this for other people. And again, if you work for a large corporation, this might be in LinkedIn. Show social proof in LinkedIn, right? Pick your platform and kind of run with it. So that's the first one. Make sure your social media looks legit. You don't have to be an expert at this. It can be really easy, really simple. Just make sure that there's no liabilities on there. Make sure that you're posting. If there's a post in there from 2 years ago, like, please start posting more, because that's the first thing that somebody looks at. They're like, oh, this account is like really dead. No one's on here. All right. Step 2, figure out how you can approach people. This is going to be a longer game. If I'm cold calling somebody, I can pick up the phone and call them and I can talk to them immediately. If you're on social media and you're messaging somebody, you can't message them cold with like pitching something. It's the same thing as like the word vomiting on somebody, like we were talking about earlier, vomiting pink. You can't do that. I don't know about you, but I have so many messages in my DMs from people trying to pitch me something or another. I never message them back. Why? Because you don't feel special, because they're sending the same message to thousands of people and you don't really feel the need to message this person back. How do you get somebody cold to listen to you with your willingness to build a relationship with them? Got to build a relationship, right? And we as women, we're really good at building relationships with people. So I will give yourself a minimum of 2 days of having conversations with people before you go into anything else. So people have different strategies depending on what profile that you're in, right? If you're in LinkedIn, you can use LinkedIn Sales Navigator and you can start messaging people and getting connections with people. I think people want to feel seen more than anything else. People all want to feel important. Can you find a way to acknowledge somebody and ask them a question? So if I'm on LinkedIn, I would go and look into somebody's profile, see what they do, see if there's a post that they post, an article that they post. I would read it and I would send something about that post, about that article, and I would ask them a question. Yes, right? So I ask them a question about the article, ask them a question about the post that they had. Or I could say, hey, I'm not even sure if you're the right person and I should be speaking to you. Are you with X? Right? And you can be a little bit more like businessy formal in LinkedIn than Instagram and Facebook. Okay. And Facebook, what I would be doing is I would be going into Facebook groups and I would be becoming a friend in the Facebook group. So it's like you're kind of like going into a party. Let's say I join a Facebook group. I wouldn't just start DMing people in the group because I don't know anyone yet. I would come in, I would comment on different people's stuff, I would message people back. I would maybe post some things in the community that are on their guidelines, something where I'm like welcoming myself into this community. And I would maybe make a post, and when people are messaging me, I would start messaging them back. Now, you can't make the mistake of, I'm just here to be friends with people. That's not what this is. You want to go in with the intention of like, who here is my prospect? Who here could I possibly help? And when you're talking to somebody this way, it's like, what can I do right now to see if this person would be willing to have a conversation with me? Again, people want to feel seen. So let's say that somebody asks a question in this group. I message them personally. I'm like, hey, I just saw that you asked a question in this group. I'm in there too. Here, I hope this helps. And you send some type of resource or you send some type of thing that would help them. And then maybe the next day you start messaging them about something that's on their profile and you go back and forth for a couple days. So let's say that they're a mom and I'm a mom. I'm like, hey, like, I noticed that your daughter's in cheer. Like, what would you recommend in terms of a tumbling coach in this area for my daughter? Maybe I ask something really, really basic. Once I go back and forth with her a couple days, I'm like, oh my gosh, forgive me, I forgot to ask. And I asked my first current situation question. Some type of question that would let me know if they're my prospect or not. Like for me, like my question is like, oh, forgive me, I forgot to ask, are you in sales or what do you do? Because if you're not in sales, there's a really good chance I probably couldn't help you. Okay. Let's say that you're in network marketing. Maybe to ask, like, forgive me, I forgot to ask, like, what do you do for work? Right. Let's say that I was in like insurance. Maybe I was like, oh, forgive me, I forgot to ask you, and you only have a family to take care of. And I start asking about if they have a family, right? Because they're going to be more prone to buying insurance to financially protect their family when they pass away. So I'm just trying to be willing to have a conversation. And again, this is a time consuming thing. I would be reaching out to 20 people a day and I would be tracking it in some type of tracker for myself on like Google Sheets because I know that it's going to take me about 2 weeks or so of doing this every single day in order for me to actually build a legitimate pipeline. Now, why am I doing this? Especially if my boss is feeding me leads. Because in case there was ever a point where you didn't get leads or something happened, you always have a bank of people that you can talk to, right? If somebody's messaging you on Facebook, Instagram, you can ask like, hey, by the way, like what's the best number to text you at? And automatically get their phone number, automatically give them a call. There's so much that's out there. It's just like our unwillingness to do it. Say that I go and find a person online, I look through their profile, I'm like, oh, this person I think would be my ideal prospect. First of all, you need to follow them. I can't tell you how many times people have messaged me and they don't follow me. And they're like, oh my gosh, I love what you do. I'm like, not enough to follow me though. Like, you seem like a liar, okay? You don't like liars. So follow this person. You're going to comment on 3 of their pictures, like 5 of them, comment on their story, and send them a message asking them a question about them, nothing to do with what you sell. Again, going back and forth for 2 days about them and then asking your first current situation question. It's the same thing here. You just got to be patient. Got to be patient and got to do the work, right? 20 people a day, 20 people a day. If you can get that and really just like start building this out for you, it's going to help you so much. When I first started my social media, I did not have that many followers. I hired a VA to like, comment, message. I think we did 25 to 50 people a day. I think that we at some point they changed their standards where like you couldn't do more than 50 or something like that. So I think we lowered it back down. But every single day, man, I had like 3,000 people I was following at one point because we were messaging people every single day, following them, messaging them, talking to them. But that's how like we build the growth. Like you had to organically reach out and make it happen versus like waiting, which is the number one mistake. Like, yes, be in a place of receiving, but don't wait. I mean, like, well, I hope one day it'll work out. Like God drops, God, what is it? God provides the worms for the birds, but he doesn't drop them in their nest. You have to be willing to go do the work. If your babies are hungry, baby girl, you're a lioness. You got to learn how to hunt. You got to learn how to provide for your family and provide for yourself just in case something weren't to work out right. And the best part about this is that you can do this all in a feminine, fun, loving way. The way that I add femininity to this, because maybe you're sitting here like, oh my gosh, this sounds like so much work. This is so masculine, hunting. Okay. The way that you can make this fun and feminine is using creative energy. Creative energy is something you naturally do. You naturally can create creative energy. And the way that you can do this with messaging people is utilizing voice notes, utilizing video messages, right? Being fun, being playful, being silly. You can send one message, one video message to people, multiple people, right? Or if you are really in desperate need for leads, I would slow it down. I would send an individual voice message to each person, individual video to each person using their name and making them feel really special. But doing things like that, it's very feminine. You're creating something. You can do this in a playful way. You can do this in a feminine way. You can do this where you really see and acknowledge somebody else. There's definitely a way to do it. So just learning how to balance back and forth and finding your rhythm. And again, it's going to take about 2 weeks to really build this out to where messages are consistently coming in addition to the ones that you're consistently going out. But you got to create this for yourself because it's kind of like a backup plan. And you want to make sure that you always have leads, always have money that's flowing into you. In the Bible, they talk about the story, the sower and the seed. And this principle is so true. Jim Rohn talks about this story as well. And he talks about the farmer being a really ambitious man. And every day that he goes out, he plants seeds and plants seeds. And the next day, like the birds come and get the seeds. And to never chase the birds. Let's say that you're talking to somebody and then all of a sudden they ghost you and you're messaging them and you're like, what happened? What's going on? And you're messaging them all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. And you forget planting more seeds because you're so busy chasing the birds. Like, stop chasing the birds. Plant more seeds. Plant more seeds. Sometimes the weeds will take the seeds. Sometimes the thorns will take the seeds. Sometimes birds will come and eat your damn seeds. But one day your seeds will eventually grow and they'll produce fruit. You just have to be willing to plant seeds every day. Right? And it's not the funnest thing to do, but you can make it fun. You can make it playful. You can make it silly. Find your time to do this during the day. Do it at night. Do it in the morning. Put on some music. Do your thing. Be laughing. Be playful. Be fun with it. Right? Plant seeds. Plant seeds because they'll eventually will grow. And if you can learn how to do this, and you can learn how to do this in any industry and any way, it will really help you. If you have any questions on how to do this, please comment in the section below. I'm happy to support you. I read all the comments and I'm happy to help any way that I can. Our team is also happy to help you and support you as well. It's such an honor doing this for you. Please let me know what you want the next podcast to be on. Send this to another woman that needs to learn how to hunt. And I honor you and I will see you on the next episode.